Have you ever noticed how the words you speak to yourself shape the way you feel, the way you move, and the way you live? Not the words you say out loud to others, but the quiet ones you whisper in your mind when nobody else is around. Those words hold more power than most people realize. They can build you up or break you down. They can set you free or keep you trapped. And here is the truth that changes everything. If you change the way you talk to yourself for just 3 days, you can shift the direction of your entire life. Think about how often you've told yourself you're not good enough, not ready, or not capable. Each time you repeat those lines, they sink deeper into your mind until they become beliefs. Beliefs that stop you from trying, beliefs that make you shrink when life asks you to grow. And yet, what if you began to speak differently? What if for 3 days you spoke to yourself with the same kindness, courage, and belief you give to someone you love? Imagine the difference it would make in how you walk into a room, how you face a challenge, how you see your future. The brain is wired to respond to repetition. What you say to yourself most often becomes your truth. Neuroscience shows that self-talk can rewire patterns in your mind, influencing your emotions and your actions. When you fill your inner dialogue with doubt, your brain expects failure. But when you speak strength, belief, and courage, your brain prepares you to succeed. In just 3 days of intentional self-talk, you can plant new seeds that begin to grow into unshakable confidence. I want you to pause and ask yourself, if your best friend came to you in pain, would you tear them down with criticism or would you lift them up with love? Of course, you would lift them up. You would remind them of their strength, their value, their potential. Yet so often, you forget to give that same gift to yourself. It's not because you're weak. It's because you've carried voices from the past, voices of judgment, failure, or fear, and made them your own. But those voices don't belong to you. They are echoes of old stories, and you don't have to keep repeating them. For the next 3 days, every time you catch yourself saying, I can't, replace it with I will find a way. Every time you whisper, I'm not enough, replace it with I'm growing stronger every single day. And speak it until it feels real. Speak it until your body believes it. Speak it until your life begins to shift. The reward will not just be a little confidence. It will be a deep sense of freedom, a rising courage that tells you, yes, you can build the life you dream of. Stay with me, because over these moments together, you're going to discover exactly how to speak to yourself in a way that ignites change. You will learn how 3 days of focused self-talk can turn hesitation into action, doubt into determination, and fear into unstoppable momentum. And if you truly commit, you will walk away with more than inspiration. You will walk away with a new voice inside you, a voice that will never let you go back to who you were before. The voice inside your head can become your greatest ally or your most dangerous enemy. Most people live their entire lives without realizing they are carrying an inner critic that never sleeps, an inner voice that questions every step and magnifies every mistake. That critic tells you that you're too late, too far behind, or too small to matter. And the tragedy is that many believe it without ever challenging it. But here is the shift that awakens real power. You do not have to obey that voice. You can choose to rewrite it. You can choose to replace it with one that lifts you higher instead of pulling you down. When you deliberately change your self-talk, you start changing the lens through which you see the world. Your perception shifts. Suddenly, opportunities you once overlooked begin to appear. Doors you thought were locked start to open. Not because the world has magically changed, but because your mind is no longer sabotaging you from within. A confident voice creates a confident life. A fearful voice creates a fearful life. The question is, which one will you feed for the next 3 days? Science proves that the mind listens to the body, and the body listens to the mind. When you tell yourself you are strong, your body responds by releasing energy and focus. When you declare that you are capable, your nervous system steadies and your actions grow bolder. This is not just empty positivity. It is biology. Your brain releases chemicals in alignment with the words you repeat. Tell yourself you are tired and fatigue takes over. Tell yourself you are ready and your body prepares for action. The power of 3 days of intentional self-talk lies in this simple truth. Every word plants a chemical seed that grows into emotion, and every emotion fuels an action. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and before touching your phone, before letting the world's noise rush in, you whisper to yourself, today I am focused. Today I am capable. Today I rise. Say it once and it feels like a spark. Say it 10 times and it feels like a fire. Say it every day for 3 days and it becomes a part of you. What begins as words becomes a rhythm, and that rhythm becomes strength. Think about the times in your past when you achieved something you once doubted. You may have felt fear, but you still move. Why? Because in those moments, your inner voice said, maybe I can, maybe I will. That tiny shift created action, and action created proof. Now imagine amplifying that voice deliberately, on purpose, with power. What could you do if for 3 days you silenced the critic and let the encourager take the microphone? This is more than motivation. This is training your mind to believe in you. When you speak to yourself as someone worthy, your choices begin to match that worth. You hold your head higher. You take the call you've been afraid to make. You step into the opportunities you once avoided. Each small action becomes a signal to your brain. I am no longer the person who doubts. I am the person who moves. The reward for this shift is not just confidence. It is freedom from the invisible prison of self-sabotage. It is the discovery that you have always been capable, but your voice kept you blind to it. 3 days of speaking to yourself with belief can open a door you thought was locked forever. And once you step through, you will never want to go back. Every time you choose to speak life into yourself, you begin to dismantle the chains of old conditioning. The patterns that once told you to stay small begin to lose their grip. The weight of comparison, doubt, and fear starts to lift. It does not vanish overnight, but with each word of power you speak, you weaken the hold of those limiting beliefs. That is how transformation begins, one phrase at a time, repeated with conviction until your entire identity starts to shift. Most people wait for external validation to feel worthy. They wait for approval, applause, or recognition before giving themselves permission to believe. But when you live this way, your sense of value is fragile. It rises and falls with the opinions of others. True freedom comes when you no longer wait. When you declare your worth from within, you no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You anchor your confidence in words that come from your own mouth, and that anchor holds even when storms appear. Think of how much energy you've lost replaying mistakes or criticizing yourself for what you are not. Those thoughts drain your strength, leaving you tired before you've even begun. Now picture redirecting that same energy. Imagine every ounce of mental power once wasted on self-doubt being poured into courage, persistence, and focus. That is the gift of choosing powerful self-talk. You don't just feel better. You gain energy, clarity, and momentum. You stop sabotaging yourself and start fueling yourself. The language you use is not just communication, it is creation. Each phrase you repeat is like a blueprint for your reality. Say, I can't, and your mind draws up plans for failure. Say, I can, and your mind begins to build solutions. Words carve pathways in the brain, and with repetition, those pathways become highways. In just 3 days, you can begin constructing a mental highway towards strength, belief, and resilience. This is why athletes, leaders, and creators at the highest level train their self-talk relentlessly. They know the battle is not won in the arena, but in the mind. If your inner dialogue is filled with hesitation, your actions will hesitate too. If your inner dialogue is filled with certainty, your actions will reflect it. And the remarkable truth is that you don't have to wait for years to experience this shift. The moment you take control of your words, you begin to take control of your destiny. Consider this. When you tell yourself inside, I am capable, you're not ignoring reality, you are shaping it. You are setting the stage for growth. You are opening doors that doubt would have kept locked. And with every repetition, you are teaching your brain to expect success instead of failure. That expectation changes how you show up, how you move, how you respond. It makes you alert to possibilities you once missed and resilient against challenges that once crushed you. So for the next 3 days, treat your words like sacred fuel. Guard them carefully. Choose them intentionally. Speak to yourself in a way that empowers, strengthens, and lifts. Because the moment you master your inner language, you no longer walk through life as a prisoner of fear. You walk as someone unstoppable, guided by a voice that refuses to let you settle for anything less than the greatness already inside you. Every thought you allow to occupy your mind carries weight. Every word you speak to yourself has consequences, shaping how you perceive challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. Your inner dialogue is not just a background noise. It is the director of your life. It decides how you respond to failure, how you pursue goals, and how you define what is possible. Most people underestimate this power, but once you realize it, everything changes. Your words are no longer idle. They are the architects of your future. The mind is drawn to repetition. It thrives on patterns. When you repeatedly tell yourself you are strong, capable, and worthy, your brain begins to accept these statements as truth. Neural pathways form, and with each repetition, they strengthen. What once felt impossible becomes believable. What once felt uncomfortable begins to feel natural. This is a secret that people who achieve greatness understand intuitively. Change begins with the language they choose. In the quiet moments when no one else is listening, doubt, fear, and hesitation often feel permanent, but they are only habits. Habits formed by words you have repeated over and over. The good news is that habits can be replaced. Your inner critic can be retrained. Your inner champion can be amplified. By speaking to yourself with intention, you begin to override the old limiting messages that have held you back. For 3 days, you can plant seeds of belief that grow into unshakable confidence. 3 days is all it takes to ignite a momentum that carries forward for weeks, months, and even years. Picture the strength you already possess, hidden beneath years of self-criticism. Every time you say, I can't, that strength retreats. Every time you say, I am capable, that strength steps forward. It is not a matter of adding something new. It is a matter of uncovering what has always been there, buried under doubt, fear, and hesitation. Your words are the tools to dig it out, the hammer and chisel that reveal your true potential. When you speak to yourself with courage and conviction, your body listens, your heart rate stabilizes, your mind sharpens, your focus deepens. Science proves that affirming language changes your physiology, improving your ability to act decisively. You are literally training your body to respond to strength just by changing your words. That is power you already carry, waiting for you to claim it. And the transformation does not stop with internal strength. When your inner dialogue shifts, your relationships, your work, and your opportunities shift as well. You begin to move through the world differently. People respond to your energy. Doors open that once felt closed. Challenges become tests, not barriers. Your actions aligned with belief create results that reinforce your new mindset. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of growth, courage, and achievement. This is the moment to decide, will you continue allowing your inner critic to dictate your life, or will you take control of the words that shape your reality for just 3 days? Commit to speaking to yourself as the person you are capable of becoming. Commit to seeing your worth, acknowledging your strength, and declaring your potential out loud in the quiet spaces of your mind. The power you unleash in these 3 days will ripple far beyond, creating momentum that cannot be ignored and revealing a version of yourself that has always been waiting to rise. Every word you speak to yourself shapes not only your thoughts, but your actions. It is a silent force that either propels you forward or holds you back. Every time you whisper, I can't, you reinforce hesitation, uncertainty, and fear. Every time you declare, I am capable, you ignite courage, focus, and momentum. The difference is profound. Your life is a reflection of your inner dialogue. It mirrors the belief you carry in the quietest corners of your mind. Changing the way you talk to yourself changes the trajectory of everything you do. Your mind is a machine that responds to input. Positive, empowering input creates results, just as negative, critical input creates stagnation. When you speak to yourself with respect, love, and certainty, your brain begins to align with those messages. You begin to notice opportunities you once overlooked. You begin to take actions you once avoided. You begin to see solutions where before there were only problems. That is the hidden, unstoppable force of self-talk. It reshapes your reality from the inside out. Every person you admire, every person who seems unstoppable has mastered this principle. They understand that inner dialogue is not a luxury. It is the foundation of achievement. They deliberately choose words that reinforce their power, their worth, and their potential, and they repeat them relentlessly. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. You simply need to harness the same principle for yourself. 3 days of focused self-talk is all it takes to ignite a change that can last a lifetime. The key is consistency. It is not enough to speak these words once or twice. Your brain needs repetition to form new pathways. You need to speak them when you feel weak, when you feel uncertain, when doubt creeps in. I am capable. I am worthy. I am enough. Say it until it vibrates through every cell in your body. Say it until the fear begins to shrink and the courage begins to rise. The smallest whisper of belief can become a roar of confidence when repeated with intention. Your words are also your shield. They protect you from the destructive narratives that have held you captive. Each time you challenge a negative thought with an empowering one, you weaken the grip of fear, self-doubt, and procrastination. You begin to stand taller, move faster, and respond with clarity instead of hesitation. Your words are not empty. They are your first line of defense against the habits and patterns that have kept you from becoming your best self. And the effects are immediate. When you speak to yourself with belief, your energy shifts, your posture changes, your focus sharpens. You begin to act differently, even in the simplest tasks. Every action reinforces the message you are giving yourself. Confidence builds on itself. Courage becomes contagious. Momentum grows exponentially. What starts as 3 days of deliberate self-talk can transform your approach to life in ways you have only imagined. So recognize the power you already hold. The ability to choose your words, to speak to yourself with love and conviction is the key to unlocking potential that has always been within you. For 3 days, commit to this practice. Speak words that empower, words that inspire, words that remind you of your worth. Watch how your mind, your body, and your life respond. A shift is not abstract. It is real, tangible, and within your grasp. The only thing standing between you and the life you are capable of is the voice you choose to cultivate in these next moments. Every moment you spend doubting yourself is a moment wasted, a moment where your potential goes unclaimed. Every negative thought, every self-critical phrase chips away at your confidence, your focus, and your courage. But the remarkable truth is that this pattern is reversible. The same mind that has held you back can become your greatest ally. The voice that once whispered you can't can be trained to shout, you can and you will. Your mind is not your enemy, it is your tool. And the way you speak to yourself determines whether that tool builds or destroys. Words are more than sounds or thoughts. They are instructions to your subconscious. The brain does not argue, it obeys. When you repeat, I am strong, your body and mind begin to align with that statement. Your energy rises, your focus sharpens, and your confidence grows. When you repeat, I am capable, solutions appear, obstacles shrink, and action becomes inevitable. This is not theory. Neuroscience confirms that deliberate positive self-talk rewires your neural pathways, creating lasting change in the way you think, feel, and act. You have the power to sculpt your reality, one word at a time. Consider how much of your life has been dictated by unchallenged inner dialogue. Every I can't you accept it shaped your habits, your choices, and your results. Every moment you believed you were too small or too unworthy left you frozen at the edge of your potential. Now imagine reversing that. Imagine replacing every doubt with a declaration of strength. I can, I will, I am enough. These are not just words, they are commands to your mind, signals to your body, and blueprints for your future. 3 days of this practice can set a foundation that lasts a lifetime. Your voice within is the first battlefield of transformation. When it is trained to encourage, to empower, to fuel your ambitions, the world outside begins to respond differently. Doors that once felt closed open. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become stepping stones. People notice the shift in your energy, in your presence, in your commitment. The inner voice is not private. It manifests outwardly in every action, every decision, every interaction. Strengthen it, and everything else strengthens with it. This is why consistency is vital. A single positive phrase is a spark, but repetition turns it into fire. Speak these words with intention, not as empty affirmations, but as truths you are claiming. Speak them when fear rises, when hesitation creeps in, when the world seems heavy. I am capable. I am worthy. I am growing stronger. Repeat until doubt begins to lose its grip, until courage rises naturally, until momentum carries you forward effortlessly. The 3 days of disciplined self-talk are not a limit. They are a launchpad, and the reward is profound. You will not just feel more confident, you will see it reflected in your choices, your productivity, your resilience. You will notice the subtle changes in how you approach tasks, how you engage with people, and how you respond to challenges. Every word you speak internally becomes a signal to your mind. You are no longer confined by fear, hesitation, or old patterns. You are moving forward, aligned with your highest potential, guided by a voice that refuses to settle for anything less than your best. This is the power waiting for you in these 3 days. It is not external. It does not depend on circumstances. It depends entirely on the voice you choose to cultivate within. Speak to yourself with unwavering belief, and the world will begin to mirror the strength, courage, and greatness you have claimed inside. The shift begins now with the words you choose, with the voice you train, with the promise you make to yourself to rise. The most powerful battles you ever face are not outside of you. They are inside. They are fought in the quiet spaces of your mind, in the thoughts you allow to linger, in the words you speak when no one else is listening. Every day, your inner dialogue either builds you up or tears you down. It either opens doors or keeps them closed. It either ignites action or paralyzes you with doubt. The extraordinary truth is that this battle can be won with deliberate choice. You have the power to speak to yourself in a way that fuels progress, courage, and resilience, and that power is available to you right now. When you consciously choose words that affirm your strength, your worth, and your ability to overcome, you are not just thinking differently, you are restructuring the very foundation of your mind. Neuroscience shows that repetition of positive self-talk strengthens neural connections, making confidence, focus, and determination habitual. Your brain begins to expect success. It begins to see possibilities where before there was only limitation. What you say to yourself becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you achieve. The 3 days you dedicate to this practice are the beginning of rewiring your mind for unstoppable progress. Negative self-talk is habitual because it has been reinforced for years. It whispers you're not ready, you'll fail, you're too small. These words have held power because you believed them and repeated them. But belief is a choice. You can break the pattern by replacing the words that limit you with words that elevate you. I am capable. I am strong. I am growing every day. Speak them deliberately, consistently, and without hesitation. Each repetition chips away at fear and doubt, replacing them with confidence and clarity. Your body responds to your words just as your mind does. When you speak strength into yourself, your heart steadies, your energy rises, and your focus sharpens. You prepare physiologically for the challenges ahead. You act with purpose, move with momentum, and pursue your goals with clarity. Words are not abstract, they are catalysts for action. Every phrase you repeat intentionally triggers changes that ripple through your entire being. The language you cultivate inside determines the way you show up outside. The 3 days you commit to this practice are not just a short-term experiment, they are a declaration. They are a statement that you will no longer allow doubt, hesitation, or fear to control your life. They are a conscious choice to treat yourself as someone capable of more, someone worthy of growth, someone unstoppable in the pursuit of their goals. These words you speak will not be empty. They will become the architecture of your mindset, shaping the decisions you make, the risks you take, and the results you achieve. Every time you catch yourself questioning, criticizing, or doubting, you now have a tool to transform the moment, your words. Speak power into yourself. Declare your strength. Affirm your worth. The mind is relentless and it will follow the patterns you reinforce. Feed it with courage. Feed it with belief. Feed it with the unwavering conviction that you are capable of rising above any obstacle. These 3 days are the spark, but the fire you ignite will burn far beyond them. This is where transformation begins. The words you choose to speak to yourself are not trivial. They are the seed of your future, the foundation of your confidence, the signal that tells your brain who you are and what you are capable of. For 3 days, speak as the person you are destined to become, and watch as your mind, your body, and your life align with the potential you have carried silently all along. The power has always been within you. Now you are claiming it. Your thoughts are not random. They are instructions. Every word you say to yourself guides your emotions, shapes your actions, and builds the reality you live in. When your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, hesitation, and criticism, it is no surprise that your actions mirror those feelings. Fear becomes your default. Inaction becomes familiar. Opportunities pass unnoticed. But when you take control of your words, you take control of everything. You become the director of your mind, the architect of your life, and the force behind your own transformation. Every time you affirm yourself, you are sending a signal to your subconscious. You are capable, you are strong, you are deserving. Your body responds. Your energy shifts. Your focus intensifies. You begin to notice possibilities you once missed. You begin to act with intention instead of reacting to doubt. The small, deliberate act of speaking to yourself with belief has a cascading effect. It influences your decisions, your habits, your confidence, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. Doubt has power only because you allow it. Fear has influence only because you give it space in your mind. But your words are the gatekeepers. When you consistently speak courage, clarity, and possibility to yourself, you shrink the voice of fear and expand the voice of potential. Every phrase of empowerment is a step forward, a crack in the wall that once confined you, a signal to your brain that you are no longer bound by hesitation. Think about how much of your energy has been wasted doubting yourself. How many times have you stopped short of a goal because you believed you weren't ready, you weren't enough, or you weren't capable? Now imagine reclaiming that energy. Imagine redirecting it into belief, focus, and action. 3 days of intentional, empowering self-talk is all it takes to ignite momentum that propels you forward. That momentum grows with each word, each phrase, each declaration that reinforces who you are and who you are becoming. Your words are also your shield. Every affirmation protects you from the narratives that have held you back. Each time you repeat, I am capable or I am growing stronger, you weaken the power of fear, hesitation, and self-doubt. You begin to stand taller, move faster, and face challenges with clarity instead of uncertainty. This is not a fleeting confidence. It is a shift in your entire nervous system, a rewiring of your mind to expect growth, opportunity, and success. This process is not abstract, it is immediate. When you speak words of belief to yourself, you feel it. Your posture changes, your energy rises, your mind becomes alert to possibilities. Actions that once felt impossible now feel within reach. Every word you speak becomes a catalyst, creating results that reinforce the new patterns you are building. 3 days of consistent, intentional self-talk is enough to set this process in motion and to prove to yourself that transformation is not only possible, it is inevitable when you commit. Now recognize the power you have always held. The ability to choose your words, to shape your inner voice, is the key to unlocking the potential that has been inside you all along. Commit to speaking with belief, with clarity, with courage. Use these 3 days to cultivate a voice that refuses to settle for less than your true capability. Speak as the person you are meant to be, and your mind, your body, and your life will follow. The moment to begin is now, and the results will be undeniable. The voice inside your head is more than a background murmur. It is the engine driving your reality. Every thought, every phrase, every sentence you speak to yourself creates momentum, either lifting you higher or anchoring you in fear. Most people underestimate this power because it is invisible, subtle, quiet. Yet the quietest voice in your life has the ability to shape every decision, every action, every outcome. If you begin to treat it with intention, with care, with unwavering belief, you can transform the trajectory of your life faster than you ever imagined. The mind is conditioned to follow patterns. It thrives on repetition, on familiarity, on expectation. When you repeatedly tell yourself you are not enough, your brain treats it as fact and you act in alignment with it. Every hesitation, every missed opportunity, every step backward is reinforced by words you allowed yourself to believe. Repetition works the other way as well. When you deliberately speak to yourself with strength, courage, and clarity, your mind begins to align with those truths. Your energy shifts, your confidence rises, your focus sharpens. The impossible begins to feel possible because your brain has been trained to see opportunity instead of limitation. Fear and self-doubt are powerful only because they have been rehearsed for years. They are habits, deeply ingrained neural patterns that dictate your default responses. But habits can be changed. The same neural pathways that reinforce hesitation can be rewired through conscious repetition of empowering self-talk. I am capable. I am worthy. I am growing stronger. These words, repeated deliberately and consistently, weaken the hold of fear and build the foundation of unwavering confidence. 3 days of consistent practice is enough to ignite a shift that will continue to grow long after the words are first spoken. Your words are also a shield. Every phrase of empowerment protects you from the narratives that have kept you small. Each time you declare your strength, your worth, your potential, you reinforce your ability to act decisively. You begin to notice opportunities that previously went unseen. Challenges that once felt paralyzing now become stepping stones. Your inner dialogue shapes your actions, and your actions reinforce your dialogue. This is the invisible cycle of growth, and it begins with the words you choose to speak to yourself. Your body responds to the voice you cultivate. When you speak with confidence, your heart steadies, your energy rises, and your focus becomes laser sharp. You act with precision, determination, and momentum. Your physiology follows your thoughts follow your words, and your words are the key to unlocking both. The alignment of mind, body, and energy is created through the repetition of intentional self-talk. It is not magic. It is biology, psychology, and neuroscience converging to reward deliberate action. Commit fully to this practice. Do not allow hesitation or skepticism to interfere. Speak words of power, belief, and courage to yourself without pause. Let the voice you cultivate in these 3 days dominate doubt, fear, and self-criticism. Every phrase you repeat strengthens a new identity, a new mindset, and a new trajectory. The transformation begins in the quietest moments, in the words you speak when no one else is listening, and it radiates outward, shaping everything in your life. Claim this power now, and the person you are meant to become will begin to emerge. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one you hold with yourself. Every word you speak in your mind becomes the foundation of that relationship. If you speak with doubt, you weaken trust in your own ability. If you speak with fear, you create hesitation where there should be movement. If you speak with belief, you create an inner partnership that is unshakable, an alliance with yourself that no circumstance can destroy. The quality of your self-talk determines the quality of your connection to your own strength. And that connection is the force that drives all lasting transformation. Your mind listens to everything you say. It does not filter. It does not question. It does not argue. It simply absorbs. This is why your self-talk carries such weight. Every negative word is stored and reinforced. Every empowering word is stored and reinforced. Over time, this repetition becomes your default setting, your automatic response, your core belief about who you are and what you can achieve. If you want to rise, you must fill your mind with words that lift, words that command action, words that establish a new standard of who you are. When you declare, I am enough, you begin to dismantle the lies of inadequacy that have kept you small. When you speak, I'm capable, you rewire your brain to approach challenges with courage instead of hesitation. When you affirm, I am growing stronger every day, you create momentum that does not fade with a single setback, but instead carries you through. These words are not decoration, they are strategy. They are the method by which you reshape your inner world and by extension, your outer reality. Doubt will resist, fear will fight back. The old voice of criticism will try to return because it has been your habit for so long. But every time you answer it with strength, every time you silence it with conviction, you weaken it. 3 days of deliberate practice is long enough to feel the shift, long enough to realize you are not powerless, long enough to taste the freedom of speaking to yourself as an ally instead of an enemy. Once you feel that power, you will never want to return to the chains of old self-talk. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing to direct your focus. It is about deciding that even when life is hard, your words will not make it harder. They will make you stronger. They will remind you of who you are. They will carry you through the storm instead of letting the storm consume you. Your voice can be the anchor that keeps you steady or the weight that drags you under. The choice belongs to you in every moment, in every thought, in every phrase you allow to repeat in your mind. So for 3 days, commit to speaking only what strengthens you. Guard your words like treasure. Replace every doubt with determination, every fear with focus, every hesitation with hope. Speak not as the person trapped by the past, but as the person stepping into their future. The transformation you long for begins with the language you choose. Every word plants a seed. Every phrase builds a foundation. And when you fill your mind with belief, your life cannot help but rise to meet it. Your words are more than sounds. They are instructions to your mind, your body, and your reality. Every phrase you repeat shapes how you think, how you feel, and how you act. When you allow negativity, doubt, or criticism to dominate, you are unknowingly training yourself to expect limitation. Every hesitation, every I can't, every I'm not ready reinforces the very barriers you wish to break. But when you consciously choose to speak words of strength, courage, and possibility, you are planting the seeds of transformation. 3 days of this practice is enough to ignite a chain reaction that begins in your mind and extends to every corner of your life. The brain does not distinguish between imagined strength and lived strength. When you declare, I am capable, your body responds as though it is true. Your heart steadies, your focus sharpens, and your energy rises. Action follows thought. Fear shrinks. Courage grows. This is how deliberate self-talk rewires the mind. It transforms hesitation into decisiveness, doubt into clarity, and uncertainty into confidence. Every word becomes a blueprint for action. Every affirmation, a signal to your nervous system that you are prepared, capable, and ready to rise. Fear is persistent because it has been practiced for years. Your mind has learned to default to caution, to limitation, to restraint. But the same principle applies in reverse. Deliberate repetition of empowering self-talk trains your mind to default to belief, strength, and action. Each time you speak words of encouragement, you weaken the power of fear. Each time you affirm your potential, you reinforce the pathways of confidence and resilience. 3 days of consistent practice is enough to create a noticeable shift in how you think, feel, and act. Your inner voice determines the way you show up in the world. If it is critical, hesitant, or doubtful, it manifests in your choices, your posture, your energy, and your interactions. If it is confident, deliberate, and empowered, it transforms everything you do. The subtle shifts in thought ripple outward, influencing the way you respond to challenges, perceive opportunities, and execute your goals. The voice you cultivate inside becomes the engine driving your life. Consistency is key. A single phrase of empowerment is a spark, but repetition turns it into a fire that cannot be extinguished. Speak to yourself with conviction, without hesitation, without compromise. Replace every I'm not ready with I'm prepared. Replace every I can't with I will find a way. Replace every I'm not enough with I'm growing stronger every day. These words are not mere suggestions. They are commands to your subconscious, signals that reshape your reality. The rewards of this practice extend beyond confidence. They reach every part of your life. Your focus becomes sharper, your actions more decisive, your energy more aligned with your goals. Obstacles lose their power over you. Opportunities reveal themselves. Momentum builds and compounds. What starts as 3 days of conscious self-talk becomes the foundation of a new way of being, a self-reinforcing cycle of strength, courage, and achievement. The person you are meant to become is waiting inside you. The voice you cultivate is the key. Speak with intention, with clarity, with unwavering belief, and watch as your mind, your body, and your life align with the power that has always been within you. This is your moment to claim it, to rise, and to become unstoppable. Your inner voice is the foundation of everything you do. Every thought you entertain, every word you speak to yourself, directs your energy, shapes your decisions, and builds the life you live. If that voice is critical, hesitant, or filled with doubt, it will anchor you to limitation. If it is empowering, confident, and deliberate, it will propel you forward. The reality is simple. The person you are becoming is determined by the words you repeat in the silence of your mind. 3 days of intentional, focused self-talk is enough to awaken a shift that has been waiting for you your entire life. The mind responds to repetition. It treats what you tell it most often as truth. When you speak words of fear, uncertainty, or inadequacy, your brain accepts them and your body responds accordingly. You shrink from challenges, hesitate at opportunities, and limit the expression of your potential, but the opposite is equally true. When you declare, I am capable, I am growing stronger every day, I am prepared to rise. Your mind and body begin to align with that reality. Your energy rises. Your focus sharpens. Your actions become deliberate. The chain reaction begins the moment you choose to speak with intention. Fear and doubt will resist because they have been rehearsed for years. They are habitual, deeply ingrained, and persistent. But the same neural pathways that reinforce hesitation can be retrained through conscious repetition of empowering self-talk. Every phrase of strength you repeat weakens the voice of fear. Every affirmation of worth you claim rewires your mind to expect success instead of limitation. The 3 days you commit to this practice are enough to experience a tangible shift in your thoughts, your energy, and your actions. Your words are more than instructions. They are shields. Each declaration of belief, each assertion of courage protects you from the narratives that have kept you small. When you speak to yourself as someone capable, strong, and resilient, you begin to notice possibilities you once ignored. Challenges that once seemed impossible transform into stepping stones. Your inner dialogue becomes the engine of progress, fueling momentum that carries you through obstacles and toward your goals. Consistency is critical. A single affirmation is a spark. Repetition turns it into a fire. Speak to yourself with conviction, without hesitation, without compromise. Replace every "I'm not ready" with "I am prepared." Replace every "I can't" with "I will find a way." Replace every "I am not enough" with "I am growing stronger and more capable every day." These words are not empty. They are commands to your subconscious, signals that reshape your mind, your body, and your reality. The effects of this practice extend far beyond confidence. They influence your focus, your energy, and your ability to take decisive action. Obstacles that once paralyzed you lose their power. Opportunities that once seemed distant reveal themselves. Momentum builds, and every action reinforces your new mindset. What begins as 3 days of conscious self-talk becomes the foundation of a life defined by strength, courage, and unwavering belief in yourself. The person you are meant to become is already inside you. The voice you choose to cultivate is the key. Speak with intention, clarity, and absolute belief in your potential. Claim it, own it. Let the words you repeat shape the life you deserve. This is your power. This is your responsibility. This is the path to becoming unstoppable. Your thoughts are not just fleeting images. They are the architects of your reality. Every word you speak to yourself builds the framework of your confidence, your courage, and your potential. Every negative phrase reinforces limitation. Every critical thought strengthens hesitation. But every empowering word creates momentum, energy, and possibility. The voice inside you is either your greatest ally or your most relentless saboteur. It does not rest. It is always listening. And the choices you make with that voice determine whether you rise or remain trapped in doubt. The brain responds to repetition. When you speak words of fear or inadequacy, the mind accepts them as truth, and your actions reflect that belief. You shrink from challenges, hesitate at opportunities, and allow potential to slip through your fingers. But when you speak words of strength, capability, and resilience, your mind begins to align with those truths. Your body responds. Your energy rises, your focus sharpens, your actions follow with confidence. 3 days of conscious, deliberate self-talk is enough to create a measurable shift in the way you think, feel, and operate. Doubt will resist. Fear will rise. The old voice of criticism will attempt to reclaim its place because it has been rehearsed for years. But every time you counter it with affirmations of power, every time you respond with deliberate belief, you weaken its hold. 3 days of consistent practice is all it takes to feel the momentum shift. The chains of old limitations begin to loosen. You'll begin to recognize the strength that has always existed inside you, the potential that has always been there, waiting for your acknowledgement. Your words are also your shield. Every affirmation protects you from the narratives that once held you back. Every declaration of capability shields you from hesitation. Each phrase of courage teaches your mind to approach challenges with clarity instead of fear. Your inner dialogue becomes the engine driving action, influencing every decision you make, every step you take, and every goal you pursue. It creates a ripple effect that transforms not just your mindset, but your reality. Consistency is the key to unlocking this power. One phrase spoken once is a spark. Repetition turns it into a fire that cannot be ignored. Speak deliberately. Speak with conviction. Replace every "I can't" with "I will find a way." Replace every I am not enough with I am growing stronger every day. Replace every I'm not ready with I am prepared and capable. These are not empty statements. They are commands to your subconscious, signals that reshape your thoughts, your energy, and your actions. The results extend beyond confidence. They affect focus, energy, resilience, and decisiveness. Obstacles that once felt impossible now appear as opportunities. Momentum builds, and every action reinforces your new mindset. What begins as 3 days of focused self-talk becomes a lifelong foundation of strength, courage, and unstoppable belief in yourself. The person you are meant to be already exists within you. The voice you cultivate determines whether you unlock that potential. Speak with intention, with clarity, and with unwavering belief in who you are and who you are becoming. Claim that voice. Own it. Let it guide every thought, every action, every moment. This is the power you have always held. This is the path to becoming unstoppable. The voice inside your head is relentless. It never stops, never sleeps, never takes a break. Every word it whispers shapes your perception of yourself and the world around you. Every phrase it repeats either lifts you or drags you down. Most people never realize the full weight of this voice because it is subtle, quiet, and constant. But subtlety does not make it harmless. Every negative word you allow to linger reinforces fear, hesitation, and limitation. Every empowering word you choose to repeat strengthens courage, clarity, and momentum. This is the battleground of transformation, and the weapon is your own self-talk. Your mind responds to repetition. It does not question. It does not debate. It obeys. When you repeatedly tell yourself, I am not ready, I can't do this, or I am not enough, your brain accepts it as truth. Your body follows. Your energy drops. Your focus scatters. Your actions stall. But the same principle applies in reverse. When you deliberately say, I am capable, I am strong, I am growing stronger every day, your body and mind align with that reality. Energy rises, focus sharpens, action becomes deliberate and unstoppable. 3 days of consistent, intentional self-talk is enough to start rewiring your neural pathways and shifting the way you move through the world. Fear will resist. Doubt will try to reclaim its place. The old voice of criticism will fight to maintain its dominance because it has been rehearsed for years. But each time you respond with affirmations of strength and belief, you weaken that resistance. Each time you speak with intention, you reinforce the voice of possibility. These 3 days are not just a practice, they are a declaration that you will no longer allow hesitation, limitation, or fear to dominate your life. A declaration that you will claim the potential that has always existed inside you. Your words are more than instructions, they are shields. Every empowering phrase protects you from the narratives that once kept you small. Every declaration of capability strengthens your resilience. Each time you affirm your worth, your courage, and your potential, your mind begins to respond differently. You notice opportunities you would have overlooked. Challenges that once paralyzed you become stepping stones. Your inner dialogue becomes the engine driving momentum, shaping every action, decision, and step you take toward the life you are capable of creating. Consistency is the catalyst for this transformation. A single phrase is a spark. Repetition turns it into an unshakable fire. Speak with unwavering conviction. Replace every I can't with I will find a way. Replace every I'm not enough with I'm growing stronger every day. Replace every I'm not ready with I am prepared and capable. These words are not mere affirmations. They are commands to your subconscious, shaping your thoughts, emotions, and actions. The effects extend beyond confidence. They influence energy, focus, decisiveness, and resilience. Obstacles that once felt impossible now appear as opportunities. Momentum builds, and each action reinforces the mindset you are cultivating. What starts as 3 days of disciplined self-talk becomes the foundation for a life defined by courage, strength, and unstoppable belief in yourself. The voice you cultivate now will guide every moment, every choice, every step forward. Claim it, own it, let it transform your life. Have you ever noticed how the words you speak to yourself shape the way you feel, the way you move, and the way you live? Not the words you say out loud to others, but the quiet ones you whisper in your mind when nobody else is around. Those words hold more power than most people realize. They can build you up or break you down. They can set you free or keep you trapped. And here's the truth that changes everything. If you change the way you talk to yourself for just 3 days, you can shift the direction of your entire life. Think about how often you've told yourself you're not good enough, not ready, or not capable. Each time you repeat those lines, they sink deeper into your mind until they become beliefs. Beliefs that stop you from trying. Beliefs that make you shrink when life asks you to grow. And yet, what if you began to speak differently? What if for 3 days you spoke to yourself with the same kindness, courage, and belief you give to someone you love? Imagine the difference it would make in how you walk into a room, how you face a challenge, how you see your future. The brain is wired to respond to repetition. What you say to yourself most often becomes your truth. Neuroscience shows that self-talk can rewire patterns in your mind, influencing your emotions and your actions. When you fill your inner dialogue with doubt, your brain expects failure. But when you speak strength, belief, and courage, your brain prepares you to succeed. In just 3 days of intentional self-talk, you can plant new seeds that begin to grow into unshakable confidence. I want you to pause and ask yourself, if your best friend came to you in pain, would you tear them down with criticism, or would you lift them up with love? Of course, you would lift them up. You would remind them of their strength, their value, their potential. Yet so often, you forget to give that same gift to yourself. It's not because you're weak. It's because you've carried voices from the past, voices of judgment, failure, or fear, and made them your own. But those voices don't belong to you. They are echoes of old stories, and you don't have to keep repeating them. For the next 3 days, every time you catch yourself saying, I can't, replace it with, I will find a way. Every time you whisper, I'm not enough, replace it with, I am growing stronger every single day. Speak it until it feels real. Speak it until your body believes it. Speak it until your life begins to shift. The reward will not just be a little confidence, it will be a deep sense of freedom, a rising courage that tells you, yes, you can build the life you dream of. Stay with me, because over these moments together, you're going to discover exactly how to speak to yourself in a way that ignites change. You will learn how 3 days of focused self-talk can turn hesitation into action, doubt into determination, and fear into unstoppable momentum. And if you truly commit, you will walk away with more than inspiration. You will walk away with a new voice inside you, a voice that will never let you go back to who you were before. The voice inside your head can become your greatest ally or your most dangerous enemy. Most people live their entire lives without realizing they are carrying an inner critic that never sleeps, an inner voice that questions every step and magnifies every mistake. That critic tells you that you're too late, too far behind, or too small to matter. And the tragedy is that many believe it without ever challenging it. But here's the shift that awakens real power. You do not have to obey that voice. You can choose to rewrite it. You can choose to replace it with one that lifts you higher instead of pulling you down. When you deliberately change your self-talk, you start changing the lens through which you see the world. Your perception shifts. Suddenly, opportunities you once overlooked begin to appear. Doors you thought were locked start to open. Not because the world has magically changed, but because your mind is no longer sabotaging you from within. A confident voice creates a confident life. A fearful voice creates a fearful life. The question is, which one will you feed for the next 3 days? Science proves that the mind listens to the body and the body listens to the mind. When you tell yourself you are strong, your body responds by releasing energy and focus. When you declare that you are capable, your nervous system steadies and your actions grow bolder. This is not just empty positivity, it is biology. Your brain releases chemicals in alignment with the words you repeat. Tell yourself you are tired and fatigue takes over. Tell yourself you are ready and your body prepares for action. The power of 3 days of intentional self-talk lies in this simple truth. Every word plants a chemical seed that grows into emotion, and every emotion fuels an action. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, before touching your phone, before letting the world's noise rush in, you whisper to yourself, today I am focused. Today I am capable. Today I rise. Say it once and it feels like a spark. Say it 10 times and it feels like a fire. Say it every day for 3 days and it becomes a part of you. What begins as words becomes a rhythm, and that rhythm becomes strength. Think about the times in your past when you achieved something you once doubted. You may have felt fear, but you still move. Why? Because in those moments, your inner voice said, maybe I can, maybe I will. That tiny shift created action, and action created proof. Now imagine amplifying that voice deliberately on purpose with power. What could you do if for 3 days you silenced the critic and let the encourager take the microphone? This is more than motivation. This is training your mind to believe in you. When you speak to yourself as someone worthy, your choices begin to match that worth. You hold your head higher. You take the call you've been afraid to make. You step into the opportunities you once avoided. Each small action becomes a signal to your brain. I am no longer the person who doubts. I am the person who moves.